right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Hannah Crepeau. I'm the content marketing manager here at Certiport. We're happy to have you joining us for our Certified Academy IT webinar this afternoon. Please feel free to drop it in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from and what courses you teach so we can all get to know each other a little bit better. Just a note, we are recording this session, so anyone who is registered will receive a link to the recording after we've wrapped up. But if you do have questions that you want to ask our panel today, feel free to drop those into the chat or the Q&A as those come up, and we'll make sure to address those as we go throughout our session. I did want to call out as well that this session is being sponsored by the Cisco Certified Support Technician Certification Program. The new Cisco Certified Support Technician program was designed to validate work-ready skills and knowledge to help learners find a job in the field of networking and cybersecurity, which ties in well with our topic today. We're pleased to actually have, we've had some kind of last minute snafus with scheduling. So Alam Ali is going to be holding down the fort today for us. He's currently a network engineer at Cisco. Before his work at Cisco, he worked as an IT analyst at Unitas, investment banking analyst at Bank of America Securities, and network engineer at Valiant Technology, and Cisco Net Academy instructor for the New York City DOE. He holds a bachelor's in business administration from Baruch College and is a graduate of the Cisco networking program at Thomas A. Edison CTE High School. Additionally, he's collected multiple certifications, including Cisco Certified Network Professional, Cisco Certified Network Associate, Cisco Certified Cyber Ops Associate, CompTIA Advanced Security Practitioner, Jamf Certified Associate, and VMware Certified Associate. So we have some very credentialed people joining us today. So Alim, before we dive in, I just wanted to give you a chance to quickly introduce yourself. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Thank you for being here. Do you want to give us a quick introduction into yourself and your career in networking and cybersecurity?
Yeah. So as you said, my name is Alim. I think you went through most of my background so far, but just I guess as to what I'm currently doing, I mentioned I'm a network engineer at Cisco, help out clients day to day with setting up their network, configuring, and overall just making sure everything runs smoothly. Um, I guess, excited to be here. Not sure what else I could add on to that
That's a
for
great
now.
introduction. We'll take enthusiasm. I did want to talk about you've had some extensive different positions. How did you decide to pursue a career in IT and cybersecurity?
Yeah, I think I always from younger, I've loved computers, and that led to my decision to join a CTE high school when I was
Mm.
applying in middle school and chose Edison, specifically chose their Cisco program. And I think that's what really fostered my love for networking and my interest in it. So throughout the years at Edison, really gained a good understanding of it and got some exposure to what the real world networking looks like. And that led me to later on pursue uh, various roles in networking and overall just develop my skills to be where I am now.
That's fantastic. And I wanted to talk about, you and I have had a chance to chat personally, but I wanted to talk about landing your current job. We talked in your bio about different certifications and things like that you've earned. What do you feel like was helpful as you went into the networking field in landing your current role?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. The certifications definitely help, but I
Mm.
think having a foundational understanding to be able to conceptualize a lot of the different tasks that you would be doing on your day-to-day job, and also just having the experience behind it, having little internships and also some roles that would contribute to something tangential to what you were doing on the current
Mm.
role that you're applying for, that definitely helps. So I don't think there's one standalone thing that would stand out for
Yeah.
recruiters. I think it's a combination of different factors that leads your candidacy to stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we talked about previously as well is that when you're going into a field like networking, there's a lot of different skills that students need to be able to showcase to land a job like yours. So what are some of the skills that you find in your current role are most relevant for students who are looking to pursue a career in networking?
Yeah, I think definitely the most important role skill is probably a soft skill, problem solving. I
Mm.
think problem solving is extremely important because it's something that you use day to day, and it in a student's mind allows you to reinforce that there's always some way to solve something. You just have to keep going at it till you figure it out. Just don't give up. If you don't find the solution within a couple minutes, there's
Hmm.
always something out there. Um, Communication is definitely important. That I guess ties in with problem solving. That if you
Hmm.
can't figure it out, talking to your colleagues, talking to someone you trust that knows a little bit of networking
Mm.
or security if you're in that field. I think those are two really important skills. The hard technical skills can be taught on the job. You'll figure it out on the day to day, but I think soft skills are probably really important coming from a entry level perspective.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to kind of take a little bit of a curveball here and ask you, how are you applying some of these skills in your current role at Cisco? Problem
Yeah,
solving and communication.
so problem solving definitely I think it's every minute of the day just because I deal with
Mm,
technical troubleshooting of different issues and also setting up complex networks for clients. It's definitely there's always they give you a scenario and you have to try and figure out the best recommendation for them based on their needs. So I guess it comes with experience, some of the problem solving skills, but
mhm.
definitely just it's reinforced by doing it every single day. And communication wise, I talk to clients all the time, all day, so it's 100% the most important thing for my role.
Yeah, I agree. And thinking about that, then how did you feel like your skills have evolved since being a student to where you are now? Do you feel like you've learned how to problem solve more effectively as well as communication? How have you kind of strengthened those skills?
Yeah, I think definitely my methodology has changed from when I was a student, where I didn't have probably concrete steps for solving
Mm,
certain issues. So now I have a probably a method for each type of issue I encounter, depending on what technology it is
mm.
or different resources to look over in order to try and learn it. Googling really well for some
Being
of
able to
them.
find the information, right? I think that that's a
Yeah,
really big part of it as
I think
well.
that's really what grew, what developed over the years, learning how to find the information for a lot
Yeah.
of these different issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one thing that we actually talked about and we'll get into a little bit later as well, is that in a field like networking or cybersecurity, IT basically in general, there's so much that changes so rapidly. So being able to be a lifelong learner and be able to want to kind of adapt your skill set is so crucial. Have you seen that in your role at Cisco as well, that you're kind of having to adapt on the fly?
Yeah, I think every client or every issue that we encounter is a little bit
Mm,
different. So trying to apply what we've learned to different issues or different recommendation scenario wise, it's definitely I think it's really important.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
sorry,
I
go
wanted
ahead.
to dive in. We have some educators who are here with us who teach in an IT type classroom similar to what you went through at Edison High School. And I wanted to talk about your experience going to a CTE high school specifically. What was it that got you excited about pursuing a career in networking, and how can educators kind of bring that excitement into their classroom?
Yeah, I think what really got me excited was probably all the hands-on training that we did at school. Just not just reading the curriculum and trying to do labs and packet trace. I think actual hands-on with some of the equipment and trying to do some case studies for just trying to
Mm,
figure out that also ties in with problem solving. But I think that's what really got me interested, just trying to see how the concepts that we're learning, how they're implemented in real world scenarios and overall that. And also probably say if there's any opportunity for students to do any outside projects. I'm not sure
mm.
how well connected some schools are, but just overall the ability to just see what outside the classroom how these different concepts are being implemented. That really got me interested as well. I got to a little bit of that while at Edison.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. When we talked previously, you talked about a specific experience where you guys got to go outside the classroom and set up a network. How did that work? What did that look like?
Yeah, so our instructor Jesse Kalu, he took a few of us in the class to a project at the it was a military site, a military
Mm,
facility in Manhattan. It was to set up the wireless network for them. They were doing a bit of a special event, and they gave the opportunity to the students to set up the network for the event so that um, it will be a good wireless coverage and security for the facility.
mm,
So we went there, surveyed the site for the first day, came up with our recommendation, presented it to them, and they said, okay, go ahead, implement it. We'll give you the equipment. And we went over there, ran the cables, set up the wireless routers, and tested it. And yeah, I think that was really, it was cool in the sense that we got to actually set something up for an actual facility,
Hmm.
and just to see the end results of your work being used by everybody, it's nice.
Yeah. So how is you think that hands-on type of experience different than maybe you mentioned reading about it in the classroom or using, packet tracer, things like that? How do you feel like your learning with hands-on training is different than just kind of the theoretical?
Yeah, I think the simulations in packet tracer, the conceptual understanding of it can only go
Mm,
so far. I
hmm.
think once you actually use any of the physical equipment or get to implement it even in a classroom setting, it's much more intricate, some of the things you get to do. And also there's some things that can't be reflected in packet tracer. For
Yeah.
example, wireless coverage or speed. You wouldn't get to really see that unless you're setting something up in a real world scenario that
Hmm.
you'll understand, oh, this cable's better. Um, this type of equipment would work better.
Hmm.
Things along
Also,
those lines.
yeah. So to your point, one of the things that when we talked earlier, you said access to cutting edge technology really made a difference in your experience in the classroom. So I wanted to talk about what that technology is, what that looked like, and how that made an impact on you.
Yeah, I think when I mentioned about cutting edge, I mostly just meant around newer type routers or switches in
Mm,
regards to using older type equipment where you wouldn't really see it as much in the industry unless you're
hmm.
working with a older client. But most of the clients nowadays like to keep their infrastructure up to date just to have the fastest backbone for their network or
Hmm.
security. And I think just having some type of model or some equipment that's related to that really helps to bring it home that what you're learning here is exactly what you would see
Yeah.
out there.
I
But I
think
know
that
there's a
that's,
cost. I know there's a
go
cost
ahead.
perspective to that. I was just gonna
Mm,
say.
yeah.
So I don't know exactly how to balance that.
Yeah, I'm not, and I think that that's different for every school to your point earlier, but I think that being able to see what you're going to look at when you walk into a real job is super helpful, right? Because technology changes so rapidly. If I'm learning something that was current maybe 5 years ago, that's not exactly what I'm going to be looking at when I go into the
Right.
workforce. So that can make, I think, a huge difference. And another thing that I love that you talked about, because it's something that I think every type A really excellent student gets excited about too, is the idea of competition in the classroom. So tell me a little bit about how Jesse kind of brought that spirit in.
Yeah, I think we also had physical competitions in the school as well that we competed in. Skills
Mm,
USA is one of the organizations we did a lot of competitions with. Um, Cisco Netiquette, there was also competitions in that we participated as a classroom. And I think just the competitive spirit in the classroom, it really brings it home that these skills that you're learning right now can be applied. You'll notice it when you're competing against all the other students in different schools, states. You'll see that what you're learning isn't something that it's not just you learning it, everybody's learning it. And in the to relate that to the real world, when you're applying out there, everybody, has a lot of these base skills, but to really
mm.
stand out, you have to, try and go above and beyond and learn a little bit more. And yeah, I think the competitive spirit really brings that out, that to try and go above and beyond and learn as much as you can.
So I want to dive a little bit more into that. Thinking about Skills USA, how did these partner organizations competitions prepare you for what you're doing in your current role?
Yeah, I think Skills USA in particular, I competed in the Skills USA Internet Networking competition. At all the levels, I did the city, state, and national level.
Mm,
Um, the city level, well, I guess to be general with all of them, they give you a real world scenario for building out different networks, specifically the internet networking competition. And they really test you in regards to how well you know um, networking concepts, networking setups, and overall, it really tests you on how well you can relate those to different real world
mm.
scenarios and also recommend it. There's also some client recommendation um, aspects of the competition in there as well. So I think the competition really helped to prepare me to understand that um, to win, you have to try and learn as much as you can and just stay up
Yeah.
to date. Yeah.
So going into that then a little bit more, obviously you had resources with your teachers and what you were learning in the classroom. What other ways did you kind of master these skills? You said you had to kind of go above and beyond. Where were you looking for more information? Where can teachers send students to learn a little bit more?
Yeah, I think I read a lot of the Cisco books as well.
Mm.
Other places to learn, did a lot of Googling. Um, Trying to think of anything in particular, but I think it was just mostly also learning other, as in now that a lot of the different IT fields are so commingled with each other, IT,
Hmm.
security, networking, learning a little bit of the foundational concepts of the other fields like cybersecurity really helps with a lot of the concepts in networking as well, because they're becoming so interrelated now that
Right.
I feel that even back then I knew a little bit of each and it really helped for different competitions as well. Whereas some students were learning pure networking, learning a
Mm.
little bit of the IT side, the cybersecurity side really helped to, understand all these concepts and use them.
Do you find that that's the case in your current role as well? So you're obviously a network engineer. How often do you feel like you need to branch into that cybersecurity or other IT fields?
Yeah, I think it's pretty consistent just because
Yeah.
we have trainings a lot almost every month for new concepts or new technologies we implement into all of our Cisco products. So just last week we had a training on cybersecurity for
Mm.
AnyConnect. So it's definitely something that's constant at our job. And I think that it's something that even I think almost any role you would have to know a little bit
Hmm.
of cybersecurity, a little bit of IT. You can't just focus on just one pillar.
Hmm. So
So
in thinking about, you said cybersecurity and IT, what are some of the areas of IT outside of cybersecurity that you find that you're kind of having to dip into that knowledge base?
yeah, I think on the daily, knowing a little bit of Windows Server, Active
Mm.
Directory administration, that's definitely really important. Overall, just understanding how computers get their addresses. Well, that's networking. Windows Server is really important. A little bit of Linux is important, especially in
Mm.
my role because a lot of our devices use Linux. So we have to know how to run the commands on them and just
Hmm.
how to find any information in regards to why it would go bad. Cybersecurity wise, it's really important for us in my role just because VPNs and a lot of different troubleshooting that we do in
Yeah.
regards to those, we have to understand how the VPN is set up, what cybersecurity, what Cypher suite does it use, and how is it implemented on our products, and how does it interrelate to other network vendors such as
Hmm.
Juniper, Palo Alto, a lot of firewall companies. Whenever we have to connect our product to theirs, we have to actually understand the security wise
Hmm.
how it connects. So definitely it's not just networking in that scenario. You have to understand a little bit of how the security foundations works for
Right.
that.
Yeah. So I think that there's specific fields, right? But there's no, within IT, I feel like the silos are becoming less and less stable.
Right.
You kind of have to be able to bounce between all of them. And I think that that's some really good advice for our educators as well, is that if you're teaching students and preparing them for a career in networking specifically, they need to have at least a foundational knowledge of some of these other IT principles. And that goes into actually one of the things that we talked about. So I wanted to get your thoughts. What advice would you share, maybe outside of what we've already discussed, with educators who are preparing students for networking, cybersecurity, or any of these IT fields that we've discussed?
Yeah, I think advice, the only advice I really can think of is just to instill the spirit of continuously learning, just because there's no IT person that knows every single concept, every single
Yeah.
technology. You're definitely not going to walk into the role and know how to solve every single
Hmm.
issue that you're going to encounter. Even if you check every single box on that job requirement, you're not going to know how to do all of that when you get in there. It's something that I believe grows over time. And I think advice just trying to yeah, the only thing I could think of is just to try and instill the spirit of continuously learning, just because
Hmm.
that's the only skill that is really important, I believe, in almost any technical role.
Yeah.
Because you'll eventually learn the technical side of it. If you've been on the role for a couple months, you'll figure it out, and it can be taught.
Yeah.
So
Agreed. One of the other things we talked about that you mentioned is having educators attending these type of industry events. And so I wanted to talk about that, why you think that's valuable and important.
yeah, I think that helps educators as well as any industry person
Mm,
that's working in the field to really keep up to date with any new trends, any new technologies that's being implemented, just so when it gets introduced, for example, in your workplace, that it's not new and you understand a little bit of it, and it's you understand the benefits of it if you want to recommend it, for
mm,
example. And for students, so that they when they walk into a role, they have a little bit of an idea of what it is. It's not brand new. Um, yeah, just keeping up to date, just so what the students are learning is a little bit more related to the real world
mm,
compared to if you're only teaching older technologies, like Adtran or something older.
mm-hmm.
It just helps.
Yeah. Well, so we had a question come in that I wanted to address is tell us a little bit about the application process, kind of the job hunt for someone who's looking for a career as a network engineer. What's some advice that you have for them?
Yeah, I think in regards to the job hunt, applying to roles that you believe that you're qualified for, or even if you believe you're not, it's I think that you should try at least to apply. As a student, I applied to a lot of roles before I got
Mm,
to my first IT role. It's not going to be your first application, you're going to get it. My first application, I actually didn't get it. I went through the whole interview. It's a matter of just understanding that um, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon for some
yeah.
applications. Um, but I think, yeah, once you have the foundations, maybe if you have a certification or two, it definitely helps to bring your resume to the recruiter's view.
Mm,
Um, I know that as a student, I didn't have that much experience, but just being able to put some of the concepts, just to, you know, try and try and make yourself stick out among all the other
mm-hmm.
candidates. And definitely, I think networking helps as well. When I say networking, I mean networking in regards to meeting people in the
Different
role.
kind of networking, right?
Yeah, trying to reach out on LinkedIn maybe and reach out if you know if a specific company is hiring, if you know who's hiring for it, try and reach out to the hiring manager or the recruiter
Mm,
and see if you can get an idea of what the process is like. Introduce yourself, say that you're interested. It definitely helps to differentiate yourself from all the other
mm-hmm.
candidates, I believe. So
Did you,
yeah,
so for this different type of networking, the more person to person
soft
type of
skills.
networking that
Yeah.
we're talking about, did you use that approach when you were looking for your job at Cisco, or how have you kind of landed your job? Because I think your position is probably a dream role for a lot of students who are studying networking. So any advice about what that process looked like or how you ended up where you are?
Yeah, I think it would have helped if I networked, definitely, but I actually didn't for Cisco. Just applied, and I think it's just because of my background, maybe credentials wise,
Mm,
definitely helped to get my resume noticed, and just overall being personable, I think in interviews really helps.
yeah.
Um, I don't have a exact story of how I got it, just because it was just a application for me. It wasn't anything. I should have networked because I feel like that I would have gotten it much sooner, because from the
Mm,
time I applied to the time I was reached out to was a couple months.
yeah.
So I think it
But
definitely was.
right, having those certifications on your resume, to your point from earlier, it makes a huge difference in how your resume is perceived, right? Because that was one of the things when we talked about this before, is that they said you have all of the credentials, right, that we're looking for this role. I'm surprised that we didn't come across your resume earlier. So I love
Yeah.
that
So
certification played such a big role in that for you. That's
yeah, I
awesome.
think definitely certifications help to show that you understand and can. I think certifications provide the foundational understanding that can
Yeah.
prove to employees that you have this foundation. You don't need to be taught the lower level foundations. You might
Mm,
need a little bit of the higher level or specific technologies that we use, but definitely
right,
the certification prove that you have the foundational knowledge.
right. And can learn and evolve, right, depending on the
Right.
technology that they have on site. Yeah. Well, Alim, thank you so much for sharing your experience and all of your wonderful thoughts and advice. Any final kind of words of wisdom that you want to share with our attendees today?
Um, I guess trying to keep students motivated, um, making sure that they understand that some of the concepts are harder, but it's not everybody knows everything.
Yeah.
You can get roles if you don't know every single concept. It's, I think, just trying to instill that just overall keep learning.
I think that that's really great advice and something that's very underrated. Technology changes so quickly. And so being able to have that idea that I'm not going to walk out of here knowing everything that I'm going to be doing for my whole career is really valuable. So thank you so much for sharing that advice. I wanted, before we close, to just call out a couple different things. The first announcement is that as part of Certified Academy IT, we are offering a boot camp program. So for teachers who are interested in taking the Cisco Certified Support Technician certification or any of the other certifications that we offer, you can look at our curriculum practice tests and take an exam to see what it's like before you offer it to your students. So if you're interested in adding the boot camp to your experience or your registration, please feel free to email us at certifiedacademy@pearson.com. And you can also read more about the boot camp on our blog where you probably registered. So I'm going to just drop that link here into the chat so that everyone can see that really quickly. Second thing that I wanted to call out is that these webinars are a build up to our annual Certified Educators Conference that happens in Orlando, Florida every June. It varies location, but it's always over the summer. So if you're looking to enhance your experience, learn from some more creative educators or connect with your fellow teachers or even professionals like Alim, this is a wonderful opportunity to do that. So you can go to certified.certiport.com and get registered, learn more about our community. We'd love to have you join us. The final piece of announcement that I wanted to cover is that our next webinar will be taking place on October 18th. We'll be hosting another discussion about diversity in cybersecurity. We have some wonderful guests who are going to be joining us there. So we'll talk about how to attract diverse student populations into your classroom and how diversity impacts the cybersecurity workforce as well. So please plan on joining us for that same time on October 18th. So as always, thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out of your lunch or your mid-afternoon to spend time with us. We look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks. And again, thank you to Alim for taking time out of his busy day to join us. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Take care.